Just about 25 minutes from now. Not that the first 25 minutes of this edition of The Right Stand are not special, but it's a conversation that you must listen to as I'm in conversation with Sadhguru ji. But ahead of that, there is a lot that is developing in Mumbai. Well, it all started in Patna, then moved to Bengaluru, and now it's in Mumbai, where 28 parties or regional satraps plus some national parties are going to come together to figure out how they can collectively form a bunch with a very, very interesting acronym that is I.N.D.I.A, trying to pinch upon India and trying to set a narrative there. But this Indian National Developmental Inclusive Alliance, can it even agree to include everyone? Can it even agree on certain key aspects? These are questions which are important. But there is also many other parallel developments which are also creating a buzz there. Now, we'll get you some pictorial references as to who projected themselves as convener or bringing everybody in Patna, whose face was projected, then which party tried to project themselves as leading everything and trying to do everything in Mumbai, and finally, what did the Congress, which believes it's the fulcrum and not the spoke in the wheel, as far as this opposition is concerned, or this committee of contradictions, as some people have called it, is concerned, that it's right at the fulcrum and Rahul Gandhi is the main face. So there are many pictorial references to this and projections, etc. But we will come to one important crux. There is a special session of Parliament, a cryptic tweet that came from Prahlad Joshi earlier in the day, which said a special session of Parliament in the new Parliament between the 18th to the 22nd of September. That has set the rumour mills abuzz. And now we are given to understand, amid all the speculations of who will be, who won't be, who will be the face, who will lead it, who won't, and that's all going to be thrashed out at this INDIA meeting, this grouping in Mumbai tomorrow. We are given to understand this special session of Parliament, and including one specific aspect. One nation, one poll was discussed. This aspect was also discussed. How do we deal with it? Because rumors are abuzz as to what else is going to happen. Because we are given to understand that the Parliament session initially in the old building will move to the new building. There is no question hour, no zero hour, no private member bill. That's what's going to happen. Let's ask Kamalika, one nation, one poll. There are plenty of speculations. Was this discussed? Payal Mehta is joining us. Payal, yes, Payal.
Well, Anand, I wouldn't be able to tell you whether the opposition parties actually discussed the One India, One poll, but the rumor mills have been abuzz. What we are given to understand by our sources is that it looks pretty unlikely that will really happen. Because just in the last monsoon session of Parliament, when this question was asked of the government had given a response saying that this is a detailed consultation which needs to follow because there are states who are involved. For example, Karnataka elections just finished a few months ago. Can you ask the Karnataka government to dissolve the government, within months? That's not really going to happen. But yes, we have been given to understand that probably, it is going to be a very, very important session nonetheless, given the fact that, yes, it's been convened and it's convened for 5 days. It's a sudden tweet that left everybody surprised, including the media and various political leaders. But what we are also given to understand, Anand, is that this is going to be a session which is going to be held both in the new as well as the old building. So the first couple of days, it will be a session which will be held in the old building, following which it will go to the new building as well. So
because this is soon after G20, Payal, if you can hear me, this is soon after G20, and it's somewhere around the time the UNGA is going to happen. Plus, there's a speculation just exactly about 2.5 months before elections are supposed to be called in the three important states of Chhattisgarh, Madhya Pradesh and Rajasthan. So there are a lot of speculations too. I'm going to check if we have Kamalika also with us at this point to take us through what was discussed at the alliance grouping. But Payal, 18th to 22nd, is this a joint session? What are the contours? Because you're saying there is not going to be any question hour. There will be no private members' bills. So is the agenda, is it going to be disclosed in the coming days? Or are they going to keep it close to their chest?
Our sources in the Parliament, we understood one thing, that there will be no question hour, there will be no zero hour, there will be no private members' bill, which is actually a norm which every day of every session is. So that's not really happening. And also at the same time, if you look at Prahlad Joshi's tweet, he mentions the session number. He talks about this Lok Sabha and this number, this session number as well. So that's actually left a lot of people very, very confused as to how this is really going to go about the fact. But the fact of the matter is this could also mean that a lot of opposition parties, Anand, hit out at the government saying that you inaugurated the parliament in a hurry on the 28th of May. Why did you not hold the parliament session in the new parliament building? Because there was some amount of work which was remaining to be finished. That work, it seems, has been finished. So, in a way, will it be a farewell of the last session? That remains to be seen, Anand.
Right. Thank you. Thank you for your inputs, Payal. I'm going to check when Kamalika comes and try and see what was discussed, whether one nation, one poll was discussed. There are so many speculations, but let's dive in straight into the debate. Our panelists are with us and let's ask them. This committee of contradictions, are they going to pose a challenge to Prime Minister Narendra Modi? Even as the latest Pew Research observations show that there is a 79% approval for PM to come back in 2024. So Modi versus who is a question many are asking. But if this INDIA, if they are able to thrash it out and come to a consensus, does that then pose a huge challenge? And who will lead this? Who will perhaps be the catalyst or the fulcrum? These are some questions that we'll try and get answers to. Sanju Verma, national spokesperson of the BJP, is with us. Tehseen Poonawala, political analyst, is with us. Ghanshyam Tiwari, spokesperson of the Samajwadi Party, with us. And Smita Prakash, senior journalist, with us. Namaste and Jai Hind to the ladies and the gentlemen.
Namaskar.
Smita ji, ये जो अटकलें लग रही, let's start with you only. Please tell me what's going to happen between the 18th to the 22nd of September. Or is it to just try and spook and derail the agenda of this alliance meeting?
I like the way you're coming to me instead of going to Sanju. I think, you know what, more than anything else, it just takes me back. It takes me back to the period of, 15, 20 years back when there used to be coalition governments and the governments used to be literally like sieves, leaking information. Here it is like shut doors. Nobody knows. So there's a lot of speculation, there's a lot of gossip, but one really doesn't know what's happening, So till it's announced, nobody knows. Even though Ghanshyam looks very, very tense about it. Ghanshyam, thoda smile kar sakte hain, ho sakta hai polls ho jaye. You'll have to be ready to go to the people again. So there are two things to come seriously to the matter. There are two things that could happen. One is this talk about one nation, one poll. In this, there are, it's a mammoth task, Anand, because then it means a constitutional amendment, state assemblies, dissolving. They'll have to pass through that. It's too big an exercise. If the government wanted to do this, they would have probably done it in 2022 when they had called an all-party meeting. Some parties did not take part in that meeting in 2022. So they could have started it then. But the fact that they have not done it, I doubt that it could be a constitutional amendment related matter. What the other thing is that they could dissolve the parliament, but to dissolve the Lok Sabha, the government doesn't need to call a parliament session. It just needs to call a cabinet meeting and go to the president and dissolve the Lok Sabha. They don't need to. Why would they call this if they were dissolving it? Is that 4-5 days they will put forth all the achievements of the government and then say that, listen, we've done all this, and there are 4 states which are going to polls, which is like 6 months ka tenure hota hai. They're 6 months before the general election, so let's do it together, save money for the country, etc., make it into a moral argument and then dissolve it. So that is a possibility that could happen. So that is another possibility that they could bring it. The other thing is what the Congress is saying is that they just want to dominate the news cycle. I doubt that the government will go through such a task of calling a parliament session just to dominate a news cycle.
Correct. Derail the agenda of the alliance. That means that then the Sarkar of the day is really spooked. The other thought processes, and this comes from the echelons of or the corridors of power, is भाई मई 2024 तक मैंडेट है तो हम पहले 6 महीने पहले क्यों कुर्सी छोड़ते हैं? Why should we leave or demit our roles if we have the leeway till May 2024? If not, we can announce it on May 2024 going forward. Why should we do it now is one question. Although there is another school of thought which says let's do it now. यही समय है, सही समय है. Now is that true or not? We don't know. Sanju Verma ji, you are in Mumbai. I asked Smita Prakash because a lot of the spokespersons usually say, यार आप journalist को पहले खबर मिलती है, spokesperson को बाद में brief किया जाता है. So I am asking you now.
Anand, I just want to say one thing. If you look at the track record of, the election process in India, right till 1957, we had the first general elections in 1952. Till 1957, we had synchronized elections in terms of both the general election and elections to state assemblies being held simultaneously. This synchronized cycle was first broken in Kerala in July 1959 when the centre invoked Article 356 to dismiss the government headed by EMS Namboodiripad. So my limited point is this, that it's not as if having synchronized elections is something that has been alien to India. It has happened in the past. Point number two, as Smita Prakash rightly said, for one nation, one election to be consummated and to be executed, you need an amendment to the Representation of Peoples Act 1951. And point number two, which not many people are talking about, is the fact that you need the consent of 50% of the state assemblies. And getting that consent is a Herculean task, if not impossible. So anybody who's trying to suggest that the special session between September 18th and 22nd, which has been, called for by the Modi government, is to announce one nation, one election, and to usurp the democratic ethos. Because aajkal to kuch bhi ho, the first thing I hear from the I.N. cabal is, "Arey Modi ji humse dar gaye. Arey democracy khatre mein hai. Arey संविधान खतरे में है." And I will just tell you something. I stay in South Bombay, in Breach Candy, which falls in the Malabar Hill constituency area. And I was today driving down to Santa Cruz for a meeting. And I noticed that, while these people talk big about, hum sab ek saath hain, hum ekjut hain, and, we will put up a tough fight because we are united despite ideological affiliations being different. I was amused, but not the least bit surprised. All through, my journey, when I was driving down, I saw there were huge hoardings of Rahul Gandhi, of Sonia Gandhi. Kahin Mallikarjun Kharge ka chehra dikh raha tha, and there were hoardings of Uddhav Thackeray facilitating this alliance, which will have its meeting today and of course tomorrow as well. There was no sign of Nitish Kumar, there was no sign of DMK Stalin, there was no sign of Lalu Prasad Yadav, there was no sign of Akhilesh Yadav, which tells you that finally the fulcrum of this alliance is Congress, and the Congress has never been known to stand in solidarity with its alliance partners, be it the Deve Gowda government, be it the Chandrasekhar government, or for that matter, the I.K. Gujral government. Every single government has been brought down by the Congress in the past. So I think the reliability factor with respect to the Congress is at an all-time low. Whether people want to admit it in the public domain or not, that is a different ballgame altogether.
But heart of hearts, no matter how much you want to bash the Congress party, you also realize that more than 200 seats, you are directly in fight with the Congress. So you would like to have Congress in the thick of things, because then you believe as a BJP, its DNA is engineered to counter the Congress. That's the reality, Sanjuji. So you have to accept that. I'll come back to you in a bit. Let me bring in Tehseen Poonawalla and Ghanshyam Tiwari. Gentlemen, thank you for your patience. Tehseen, what's happening? What's the buzz? Is Congress going to be the fulcrum?
Congress is the fulcrum, but before that,
will Rahul Gandhi emerge as the consensus face of Prime Minister, of the Prime Ministerial candidate?
I don't know if
Go ahead,
Rahul ji. Thank you, Jain. And before that, you rightly went to Smita ji first, because a good journalist is almost like a magician. They know exactly what to reveal and what not to reveal. So Anand, you and Smita ji are good magicians / journalists. So that's the right decision to do. But let me, the Congress is the fulcrum of this alliance. There's no doubt about it. There has to be the two national parties, that's the Congress and the BJP, the two big national parties, have to be the fulcrum of the NDA and the INDIL line. So there is no doubt about it. As so far as whether Rahul ji would be prime ministerial candidate, look, nobody in the Gandhi family has been prime minister for the last 35 years. But I do concede to the point, this is my personal opinion, I've been telling this to the Congress top leadership, that at some point the prime ministerial face will have to be given. Not just a prime ministerial face. As I said on Smita ji's podcast, you will have to have a shadow finance minister, a shadow external affairs minister. You'll have to have all of this to give your vision versus the NDA vision. Therefore, the people of India can make an informed choice. Smita ji is, and you are right on the fact, in fact even Sanjuji is right on the fact that the constitutional amendment will be required for the one nation, one election. But what really worries me is not that if the Lok Sabha elections held with Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan, that would be a bad move. We know Prime Minister Vajpayee ji did that and he lost the elections. That's not my worry. My worry is what is being spoken right now in the streets of Mumbai where I am, where they say, look, the election commission may say, look, the government is preponing the Lok Sabha elections by a couple of months, that's February. These state elections will also happen in February, and therefore you have Madhya Pradesh, etc. with the Lok Sabha elections in February. Now that, how it happens constitutionally, that may not require constitutional amendment, that may require simple parliamentary amendment for the election commission to do so. If that happens, that is not acceptable. If the government, if Modi ji wants to give up his prime ministership and go along with Madhya Pradesh, thinking he'll win that state for his party, all the best to him. That is democratic. Postponing Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan, Telangana is not accepted. Chhattisgarh is not accepted because the BJP is losing this. That's point number one. Point number two, one more point that the alliance will have to do, and I'm playing a little role in this, is we will have to tell people what you will give the people of India versus what the BJP is giving. For example, one of my suggestions is the Ministry of Artificial Intelligence. You will have to give that. So the BJP has none of it, no pun intended. So you'll have to give that to the viewers. You'll have to give that to the voters and let them make informed choices.
See, so either there are only ways to look at it. Is that a backhanded compliment that the BJP has no artificial intelligence? It's got genuine intelligence. It's not artificial. The other aspect is that if there is a Ministry of Artificial Intelligence, will it be run by a bot? Or will it be a program that similar to an algorithm that is currently commanding the Pragyan rover, which is doing fantastic work on Moon, better than some drivers on Delhi roads and Mumbai roads. So many questions there, but Ghanshyam Tiwari, good to have you on the debate. Where do you stand, sir? Akhilesh Yadav, Samajwadi Party, UP, 80 seats, dictates the discourse for Lok Sabha polls, and why is he being sidelined so much?
Good evening, Anand, to you, the viewers, and the fellow panelists, as well as a very happy Raksha Bandhan to everyone in the country. Three things are important. That we are living in an Orwellian times where a leading journalist from ANI does not know why Parliament session has been called. The BJP spokesperson does not know why Parliament session has been called. An opposition voice like Tehseen does not know why Parliament session has been called. And News 18 obviously does not know why Parliament session has been called. Not a single minister possibly or NDA ally would know why the Parliament session has been called. By the way, this 17th Lok Sabha sets the tragic record of the least number of sessions ever. And it beats the 16th Lok Sabha. In a parliament where the Prime Minister has to face a no confidence motion just because he can muster courage to enter the parliament and has to face a walkout just because he can mention Manipur. That's point one. Two, we are also living in interesting times where people who grew up calling India as India today call I.N. whatever, that is Sanjeev Verma, and you calling INDIA. It's a shame that today we are creating an acronym of the word India every one of us knows. My third point, I did not interrupt.
No, one minute. Let him complete.
My third point.
He's got every right to complete.
You will have your time.
Make his point, yeah.
My third point, that we are talking about one nation, one election, but right now the world is talking about one nation, one businessman. From Financial Times to global headlines, one nation, one businessman dominates from Greece to what is happening with SEBI. So turning the country into a laughing stock, where the institutions does not matter, press does not matter, the parliament itself does not matter to the Prime Minister, and the charges of corruption are now international, is a much bigger concern. As far as the India Alliance is concerned, it is clear it is not going to be one nation, one businessman. It is not going to be one nation, one
I need to comment now.
It is not going to be an era where from schools to states like Manipur, there is hatred, kids are beaten.
Right.
Kargil warrior's wife is paraded naked, and the Prime Minister has time to joke in the parliament.
I need to make a point now, Anand.
Make an empathetic point.
Wait. Let
The Prime Minister has not visited Manipur.
Yeah.
He would have visited 10 countries, and he would visit another country if Mr. Adani wants him to. I think people underestimate
this cannot
that.
be an
Please,
attack on the Prime Minister.
Yeah.
No,
One minute. No. 1 minute. Let me.
The tallest leader in BJP.
I have limited time, so that's why.
This is
Final
unfair.
point. The tallest leader in
Please complete and lead.
BJP.
Let him complete his
Adani.
statement. Yeah.
The tallest leader in BJP today is Mr. Adani, and everything is bent to suit
amused.
Right now, Mr. Ghanshyam Tiwari, I'm running over on my show. 1 minute, I'm running over on my show.
I need to come in here.
My point is, I have to give you comment. I have to give you commendations on the fact that you've stuck to your guns as opposition and as a voice. Although a lot of what you have said can be fact-checked by many people on the panel, including myself, Smita Prakash, and Tehseen Poonawalla, and also Sanju Verma. I'm way over Sanju Verma, but I'm going to give you 20 seconds to respond, please. I have to wind up after that. Please bear with me. Yeah, go ahead, please.
Ghanshyam Tiwari can come here and cry and sulk and whine. The fact is today, under Prime Minister Narendra Modi, in terms of nominal GDP, we have overtaken the United Kingdom to become the world's 5th largest economy. We run the world's largest financial inclusion scheme called the Jan Dhan Yojana. We run the world's largest health insurance scheme called the Ayushman Bharat Yojana. We run the world's largest self-employment scheme called the Mudra Yojana. We run the world's largest sanitation scheme called Swachh Bharat Yojana. And if Ghanshyam Tiwari is blind to all these developments,
largest propaganda
good luck to him. Good luck to you.
Right.
You will be
No. See. My point is, no. I have to wind up. I have to wind up. Thank you. My point is, one minute. Well, the opposition will say its piece. What's Orwellian as I wind up, what's Orwellian is that does the INDIA itself know? What does INDIA itself know who its prime ministerial face and convener is going to be for them to point fingers at anybody else? The other aspect is India is not Indian National Developmental Inclusive Alliance. To appropriate the name of a country smartly as an acronym, that is perhaps disservice to the nation, and that's not very smart, and that's why the differentiation between India, that is Bharat, and INDIA, that is an Indian National Developmental Inclusive Alliance. Thank you very much. We're going to take a short break. When we come back, in conversation with Sadhguru.
Rahul, or projected Rahul Gandhi, as the leader of this pack, and that seems to have ruffled a few feathers. So now, sources within the Congress party have told your channel that they are not going to be pitching for the post of the convener. The Congress is not going to be dictating any terms. They're not going to be wanting to be the natural leader of this India alliance. That's what we're now learning. The party doesn't want to leave the India bloc. They want to take everyone forward. They do not want to project this big brother image. The Congress wants allies to decide on who the convener is going to be. It is going to be a joint discussion, a joint decision. The Congress will not naturally want to be the convener or be the leader of this alliance, is the image that they want to project. CNN News 18 has now accessed the agenda of this all-crucial meeting. Remember, this is the third meeting that is taking place of this opposition bloc titled India. The finalization of India's logo is on the cards. That's going to be unveiled tomorrow, followed by discussions on key issues ahead of 2024 elections. A panel is also likely to be formed for the national agenda. The meeting comes amidst many claimants for the post of the Prime Minister, but that is something that a decision is not going to come to the fore just as yet. A top source in the Grand Old Party has now told CNN News 18 that the Congress will not be pitching for the convener's post just as yet. They do not want to play the big brother as far as this alliance goes. That's not the optics they want to project, is what we're learning. Meanwhile, Maharashtra Chief Minister Eknath Shinde is also going to be holding a dinner for the BJP and its alliance partners in Mumbai. So one city, two different alliances, two different meetings and two different optics. All of that buzz is being captured here on CNN News 18. But first, let's get you some reactions coming in from the opposition camp.
ये तो बात अगर आप देखें तो बीजेपी जितना हमें टारगेट कर रही है, उनके मन में डर बैठा हुआ है कि इंडिया भी जीत रही है। उनका जो उनकी नफरत है वो भारत से, उनकी नफरत इंडिया से, उनकी नफरत हमारे देश के संविधान से है, और वो हम उन्हें जीतने नहीं देंगे। नहीं, क्या महायुति, ये तो सारे डरपोक लोग साथ में आए हुए हैं जो ईडी को डर रहे थे, एनआईए को डर रहे थे। ये सारे लोग एक साथ अगर आप देखें तो महाराष्ट्र को पीछे लेके जा रहे हैं, तो हम उनके और ध्यान नहीं देखें। अगर आप देखें तो आज किसान त्रस्त है, आज महिलाओं का आवाज कोई सुन रहा नहीं है, उनके लिए हम लड़ रहे हैं। आई थिंक यू मस्ट हैव हर्ड फ्रॉम उद्धव जी वेरी क्लियरली yesterday that we have many choices. You have a country of 120 crore people. The BJP has no choice, but we have many choices for the PM face.
देखिए, अगर आपको विकास का एक ताना बाना बुनना है देश में, If you want to really have development in this country, विकास का ताना बाना बुनना है इस देश में, तो आपके पास नीति की सूत होनी चाहिए, नियत का कपास होना चाहिए और नेता रूपी जुलाहा होना चाहिए। अगर ये तीनों होंगे, सूत होगा, कपास होगा, जुलाहा होगा, तभी विकास की बुनाई होगी। यहां न नीति है, न नेता है। इस मीटिंग को अगर एक हिंदी के मुहावरे में कहा जाए तो वो मुहावरा होगा, न सूत न कपास, जुलाहों में लट्ठम लट्ठा। कि हम सब बैठेंगे और कॉमन मिनिमम प्रोग्राम CMP बनाएंगे। आज का मुख्य उद्देश्य उनका है CMP बनाना। हमारा भी मानना है, यही इनका एजेंडा है, कॉमन मिनिमम प्रोग्राम और मैक्सिमम प्रॉफिट कैसे हो, कम से कम काम और ज्यादा से ज्यादा कमाना, यह किस प्रकार हो, यही इनकी नियति है, यही इनका उद्देश्य है। इस घमंडिया गठबंधन का उद्देश्य ही है मिनिमम प्रोग्राम मैक्सिमम प्रॉफिट, करप्शन से मैक्सिमम प्रॉफिट। सभी जानते हैं कि GM की मीटिंग मुंबई में हो रही है। GM मतलब घमंडिया मीटिंग, ये आज मुंबई में है। वास्तविक रूप में ये जो म्यूजिकल चेयर विपक्षी दलों के बीच में चल रहा है, इसके विषय में ज्यादा बताने की आवश्यकता नहीं है। मैंने बहुत सोच समझ कर म्यूजिकल चेयर के शब्द का इस्तेमाल किया है, क्योंकि इस प्रकार के विपक्ष के मीटिंग का अनुभव आप लोगों के लिए, देश के लिए और हमारे लिए कोई नया नहीं है।
We see that one hand, there's an India alliance meet happening. Parallelly, even Eknath Shinde has called up all his alliance partners and BJP leaders at NSCI. They'll also be having a dinner meet. So, ma'am, what do you have to say on that?
Who are his alliance partners? ED, IT, CBI. Yeah? He's called them. So, I don't want to speak much about it because it takes agenda away from people's agenda. India is speaking people's agenda. India party members are speaking about India's agenda. And the agenda is the absolute uselessness of the central government, absolute failure of an unconstitutional government, an absolute abject failure to people's issues.
We understand that there will be a logo which will be unveiled. There will be discussion on the convener. But will a PM face also be decided? Because that's a question that people are asking.
No, people are not asking. People are not asking you whether it's the Prime Minister which is important or whether their daily lives being impacted by high prices is the problem. People will ask you whether it is the farmers which is an issue or whether it is who's the Prime Minister will be an issue. The country knows that there are many capable leaders. They've reduced the entire nation to one leader, which India will never accept.
आप एनडीए की और बीजेपी की खास तौर पे बौखलाहट इसी चीज़ से देख सकते हैं कि वो लगातार हम पर हमारे नाम को लेकर हमले कर रहे हैं। और इतने बड़े बड़े लोग, यहाँ तक कि प्राइम मिनिस्टर ऑफ इंडिया, जिन्होंने कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन ऑफ इंडिया के तहत अपना कार्यभार संभाला, इंडियन फ्लैग के नीचे खड़े होकर शपथ ली, प्रेसिडेंट ऑफ इंडिया ने उन्हें शपथ दिलाई, गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया के वो मुखिया हैं, सरकार में आने के बाद स्टार्टअप इंडिया, स्किल इंडिया, मेक इन इंडिया, बढ़ेगा इंडिया, खेलो इंडिया, चलेगा इंडिया, न जाने कौन कौन सी स्कीम्स उन्होंने लॉन्च करी, नीतियां लॉन्च करी। आज उसी पार्टी को और उन्हीं लोगों को इंडिया शब्द से नफरत हो गई। आज ये हमारे अलायंस का जो कंपैरिजन है वो किसी आतंकवादी संगठन से कर रहे हैं, क्योंकि उन्हें इंडिया शब्द से इतनी नफरत हो गई। ये नफरत नहीं है, ये उनकी बौखलाहट है। ये लोग डरे हुए हैं, घबराए हुए हैं कि कहीं ये गठबंधन सफल।
He's known for being very flamboyant, but he's revered as a spiritual guru. But more importantly, he also understands the science of humanity and the need to save our soil, to have a more sustainable planet so that we have a future. He's a bhakta of the Adi Yogi. I last met you, Sadhguru ji. Namaskaram. It's always a pleasure to speak with you, sir. And right now we are at your center here in Delhi, and it's just amazing. My first question to you: Shiva Shakti is the spot where the Vikram lander has landed on the moon. How do you see it?
Most appropriate, because the cycles of the moon, the spin of the moon and the spin of the earth and the overall relationship with all the planetary movement that is happening is the basis of our existence. There are 1,000 ways we can explain this, but one of the simplest ways to say it is, only because our mothers' bodies were in sync with the cycles of the moon, we are here, both of us.
Correct.
Otherwise we wouldn't be born. There is a yogic doomsday, if you want me to Over probably 3,000 or 3,600 years ago, this prediction was made because they noticed at that time. Today it is confirmed by scientific measurements. Every year, moon is moving away from our planet by 1.5 inches, at about 15 millimeters. At this rate, if it continues, it's estimated, on that day they estimated, 28,000 years later, moon will go that far away that it will stop influencing the biological processes of human women, and they will not become… they'll become incompetent to reproduce. That is how humanity will end. You don't need a bomb, you don't need fire, ice, whatever else others people are usually predicting. This is how it is said. Leaving that aside, the important thing is our existence here and the spin cycles that are happening are very, very connected. Literally, this planetary system is like a potter's wheel out of which we have been churned out. This is the reason Adiyogi said at that time that in terms of biological and physical evolution, we've reached the peak. We cannot physically evolve anymore, we can only consciously evolve. So, based on this, the whole yogic system that today we are working for a conscious planet, because you can't grow horns or you can't grow extra brains, you can't do something else because biological evolution has come to its peak on this planet. Elsewhere it may work differently, we don't know. But here, this is all it is. So, essentially all physical existence, whether it's atomic or cosmic, there are rotations and revolutions, spins, essentially spin. If you really look at this, according to modern physics, there are only two kinds of spins. Whether you take subatomic particle or atom or planet or whatever, there are only two types of spin. You cannot spin in 100 different ways like how our Ashwin would do. He does 100 different types of spins to confuse the batsman. But in the existence, there are only two kinds of spin. Here in yoga, we call it this way, clockwise and anti-clockwise. They call it upspin and downspin, but there are only two types of spin to choose from, there are no many. So these two we call Shiva Shakti, two dimensions of physical existence. Only when they're in harmony, only when they're in balance, you will find balance, you will find maximum expression to the life and the intelligence that you are. And having known all this, we call that spot as Shiva Shakti because we know that to go further from here, we need balance. And it's only because of balance and wisdom we've reached there. You must also… probably people are not highlighting this in the news cycles. News is also cycle, you know. That we are reaching the same place in moon or anywhere else will almost 1/10 of the fuel that others are using. They're getting there in 4 days, we are getting there in 46 days, but we are using that much less fuel. When you're talking about pollution, about everything, you're trying to drive an electric car in the city, is it not important? Rocket is a super polluting process. Because of its scientific value, we do this. Because of the technological advantages we have, because of putting satellites out there, there are many, many benefits to us, we are doing it. But it's a super polluting process, just the way it fires. So we are using very minimal fuel, using a sling process of using the gravitational momentum to, use thrust only at certain times and rest of the time doing by momentum. We're building up and getting there at very little fuel. All this ingenuity comes because we have a certain balance within us. We are not people who do things with force. We find a balance and effortlessly we do it. This is what spin means even in cricket. What somebody throws at 160 kilometers per hour, somebody throws it at 85 kilometers and still gets all the wickets. That's what spin does. So this is Shiv Shakti for you.
You've fantastically answered the balance between science and spiritualism, but Sadhguruji, I have to differ with you. There is one more spin which is called the political spin, which is also being
That is done by you guys.
Not done by us. It's been done. The moment it's christened like that, there is a motive attached to it. Those who look for such motives.
Yes. See, name the… Now there are 12, 15, whatever, but at least name the 9 planets. You will say Sun is Apollo, this is Luna, that is Neptune, this is Jupiter, this is Mars, that is all this. What are all this? These are Greek gods, Greek and Roman gods and goddesses. But you have no problem. Shiv Shakti, suddenly you have a problem, you have an agenda, it's all right. We will leave it at that. There is no need to go on talking about that endlessly. It's a senseless argument because prejudiced people say all kinds of things. Right now you land on the moon, somebody in UK stands up and says, why do you need to go to the moon? Why are you taking aid from us? Which is… I don't think we are, but in case we are, we should give it back. And they should give back whatever they owe us. We'll be fine. I think it's a good exchange.
Well said, sir. There is a Pragyan rover on the moon surface, and there is a rover that you were driving here which is now making headlines.
Oh, I'm not driving a lunar rover, it's a land rover.
But why does it make headlines? Why do the bikes that you ride, the cars that you drive?
See, the thing is, every other day I'm in a different town or a different country. Wherever I get off the airport, people generally don't like to drive me because they feel very nervous driving me, because they're very conscious that I may know how bad drivers they are. So first thing they say, Sadhguru, you please drive. Whatever their cars, whatever I drive, somebody will take pictures. Now all these hundreds of automobiles that I have driven, some media people are saying, I own all of them. I own the whole universe in my heart, so I don't bother about negating these things. All right, why only those 100? All the automobiles, all the people, all the life on this planet, I have always seen it as mine. So I have no problem, they're saying that. But if ownership is in terms of papers, I don't own a single automobile.
But the whole universe is mine, one earth, one family, one future.
Yes.
That's supposed to be our motto as G20 chair. Do you think we have lived up to that billing? Do you think India is done worthy of its presidency as we built up to the summit?
See, have you lived up to one earth, one family, one future? It is not a value that you simply live up to. It is something that you strive for. It is something that you direct the world towards. All the people who are sitting here, they will not become your family just because I say so. We have to win them over. It's over a period of time. Even when you propose to your wife, she's not your family unless she says yes. Now she's your family, isn't it? So, she's my family, if you say without her permission, it'll be ugly. So one family is an aspiration, it's a striving, which we are striving. This has been the civilization's motto. Today we are articulating in English language, otherwise it's always been so, which in Sanskrit language they are saying Vasudevaika Kutumbakam. This is not today's thing. Forever we have said that, because we always saw life cannot exist in compartments. Life as a whole, from a microbial life to human being and every other life, we are connected, they are the foundational life for us. When we say one earth, one family, we are not talking about just human beings, we are talking about every life. And that is a striving, that is a work that we have to do constantly. You will only be complete when you really become a full-fledged yogi, because yogi means you're in union. That may not happen to everybody, but everybody's striving, that is the important thing.
At least the effort is there. But connecting your own campaign of Safe Soil, which you initiated around the 75th year of our independence, and you toured 75 nations plus multiple continents. I remember that conversation when you said the Africa nations need attention, and there is a crisis brewing there. At G20, we are trying to make the African Union of, say, 50 plus countries a permanent member of the G20, while also demanding the first right of use of resources to the developing world, with the focus saying going forward it's these nations and it's the developing nations that are going to contribute 2/3 of the world's GDP in the next 2 decades. You think that's the right approach? You think we are on that path?
Well, that's an aspiration once again. A lot of people won't allow that to happen. Right now, there is Niger, there is Chad, where things are, getting embroiled because certain nations and certain people have been used to getting resources either free or nearly free for a long time. If you're getting something free, suddenly if I ask you to pay, you're going to get very angry. So those issues are there, but it's again a striving to see that all people on the planet, irrespective of which part of geography they come from, what color of skin they are, everybody gets their rightful due. All of them may not become suddenly developed nations, suddenly their living standards may not rise, at least the wealth that they have should belong to them. It should belong to every nation, it should also belong to every people. Even in India there is this problem. See, for example, if you have a piece of land, let's say you have 100 acres of land, if you strike gold, government will come and take it over. I am pushing for this. In your land, if you find gold, diamond, oil or water, it should belong to you. Government can always impose taxes, government can always control it because it's within the framework. But they can't take it unless it is civilizational aspects. Suddenly in your land we found Harappa Manjadaro, then of course we will take it. Or from public utility we have to take it, we will have to compensate you in a certain way and take it. Or for strategic reasons we have to take it, those are different. But if you find wealth, you will take it, is not good. Because in my land if I find wealth, it should belong to me. Government can always tax, put up frameworks within which one should function. So today even if you grow a tree which is valuable, if you cut it, they could arrest you. Now we've changed the laws with the rally for rivers and other things, many laws have changed in most states, but still certain species are not allowed. If you grow rosewood or sandalwood, you can't cut it. So why will anybody grow it? We're importing sandalwood from Australia, can you believe it, of all the places? Down under. India is the land of sandalwood, all right? But we are importing because we don't allow people to grow. Some states have changed the laws since we've been pushing and pushing for this, but it needs to become a national policy, irrespective of what. Whatever I grow, except illegal things. Anything legal, whatever I grow, whatever I find in my land, should belong to the owner of that land. If we don't do this colonial law that if your land is not yielding anything, it's yours, if it yields something, it's mine. What kind of law is this? We need to do this in this country, only then farmers are really empowered.
But quite an irony that there are acts in our country which say that if certain bodies like the Waqf decide that that land belongs to Waqf, they can actually take it and you can't even challenge it in the top court. So it's a different kind of a problem there because it's quite endemic in our system.
I think all these things, see, if you do not correct a certain injustice with the right kind of legislations, the policymakers would have failed in their duties, because tomorrow it will not be a question of property, it will be a civil war. It will be a fight that you can't settle. You can't settle with going to court, people will shoot each other, kill each other. This will happen in large scale if you try to manifest these things. So if there are any kind of rules or laws which will set people against each other, we must neutralize this now, because now we are aspiring to move ahead as a developed nation in the next 25 years. When this is our aspiration, it's very important every minute policy is looked at carefully and ironed out in such a way there will be no conflicts in the society.
Consensus building, resolving conflicts, and especially on… let's come back to G20 because we're building up to the summit. How easy or difficult is it going to be for India to not just earn that, because we've earned the seat at the table, but to sit at the table with the entire grouping of the Global South who we want to be a voice of? You said that there will be nations that will create impediments. But are we in a position to deal with it? Are we strong enough to be able to counter that?
See, there are two aspects. One thing is the sincerity of your effort. I think in that way we have earned world's respect. Another thing is the depth of our understanding. I think in that area also we have earned world's respect. But at the same time, how much ever sense you may be speaking, how much ever wisdom you may be speaking, still if you are not strong, nobody is going to listen to you. So, becoming among the top 3 economies in the world is an important goal. Only if we fulfill that, we will be able to fulfill these ideals that we are talking about, fulfill these goals that we are talking about. Otherwise, they will be just talk. We have given a direction. Hopefully, other nations also will start talking. But you must understand, this is the nature of human communities or nations, that one who is in advantage is not willing to compromise unless they have to. This should not be the way. We should have been far more conscious, embracing kind of humanity, but we are not like that right now. Let's not dream about that right now. We can aspire, we can strive, but that's not the reality. So you can't be in a dream world. Without the necessary power to influence trade, to influence geopolitics in a significant way, is everybody going to take up to the motto of one earth, one family, one future? Though that is the best way to conduct the world. It is the most sensible way and sustainable way to conduct the world. Is the world going to take to it? No. But the idea has been planted. Nobody can blatantly say, no one world, my world is my world, your world is your world. That time is gone. They cannot say it. So I am saying we have checkmated them in that sense. We are not one family, your family or our family. No one future, our future is good, your future will be bad. Nobody can say that in the International Committee of Nations.
Correct.
So we've got them there. Now to get them committed to that is not going to happen unless you are also a powerful pawn in the whole scene. If you don't have a powerful move, then it'll be just a concept. But as a concept, we've put out a concept that nobody can reject. That's great. To start with.
So what's our powerful move? How do we become a powerful pawn, and where do you see a certain sense of our own understanding, our own cultural roots or cultural nationalism? Does it have a key role to play in it? Indians identifying with who we are as Bharat, as India, how much of a role does that play?
See, as Bharat, as a civilization, as a political nation, we are who we are. One significant damage that's happened to us is, what was the possibility of a subcontinent? We were not a nation, we were a subcontinent. Today we are an island nation. You can only go out of this country either by air or by water or by ship or by maritime ways. There is no place you can drive to except to Nepal and Bhutan.
Correct.
We have become an island nation. No island nation has ever become a superpower. Let's be very clear about this. Because it takes trade, it takes resources coming in and going out, and many things need to happen. So first thing is, we need to achieve that one way or the other, that we are not an island nation. How you achieve it? Either by treaties or by whatever means, you have to achieve that, otherwise you are an island nation. Everything coming in by sea and everything going out of sea is not the way to prosper. Prosperity is very important. We have intellectual prosperity, fortunately, because of our cultural strengths. Today, over 72 companies which are in the Fortune 500 group are run by Indian people of Indian origin. Down the line, if you look at it, the most significant part of the management in most of the tech companies are Indian people, or at least Indian origin people. Nations are being ruled by Indian origin people who are openly saying, I am Hindu, and things like that. So this is because our intellect, our competence is being recognized, but still it has not found power in the world, beginning to get little traction. But In the geopolitical stage, if you want to get power, you need a strong economy, a resilient economy, which we are, but in size we are not there. We are number 5 right now, but number 5 in terms of per capita we are way behind, all right, way behind. So this needs to happen right now. We are $2,600 per person. This needs to become at least 12,000 for us to call ourselves a developed nation. But it is also not fair to judge just by these standards, because, well, from where you come, what, Tirunam, where are you from?
I'm from Thrissur, Palakkad.
Oh, you're Palakkad.
Kerala.
All right. Even if you go to Palakkad or any part of Tamil Nadu or Karnataka, 50 rupees, you can eat a good full meal.
Yeah, true.
50 rupees is approximately 62 cents. 62 cents I'll give you, go in any of the Western countries and find yourself a bone. Let me see. Dog's bone you won't get, I'm saying. So I'm saying these parameters are not absolute, but it's all right now to go by international parameters. After some time we'll have to set our own standards. So today it's happening, world is beginning to use our UPI, the world is beginning to trade in rupees, at least a few nations. This needs to happen to us, because this will only happen if we have economic strength. Economic strength has to be protected by military strength. We don't have to use it, but it needs to be there. Otherwise, it cannot be protected. This is what has happened to us historically. We are enormous wealth without guards on the border. So this is why handful of raiders came who just came to loot and go, but then they saw this was so easy, they became emperors. Bandits became emperors, literally.
True.
So this is because we created enormous wealth, we kind of relied too much on what makes us Hindu, that is Himalayas and Indusagara. Because these mountain ranges and these oceans protected us for thousands of years, we thought it'll protect us forever. So we were not really a fighting nation, we could not defend ourselves. Once people learned how to cross the mountains or how to come by ocean, we were completely defenseless and we were just taken like that by a handful of people. Even when the British ruled us for over 250 years, what is the number of Englishmen who are actually here administering a large nation like this? It's pathetic when you look at it. How did they manage it? Simply because we had no defenses, we always depended on this Hin and Du. Hindu protection, Himalayas and Indusagara protection. Because of that, we did not develop defenses, but now we have understood that, and being a strong military nation is important. I wish there was another way, but there is no other way in the world. If you want to protect your economic process, you need a strong military, you need a strong position in the geopolitical affairs. I think we are doing all that. Well, we can always say for 1.4 billion people it's not enough. That is true, I would say yes. But have we done well? I think we have done well. Have we done fantastic? No. We need to do a lot more.
Do a lot more. Final question, Sadhguruji. I'll keep this short today, I know you have engagements too. Are we, as a society, because you interact with so many people, there are thousands of volunteers who come and they're part of…
17 million volunteers.
I stand corrected. So millions of volunteers
No,
who are
I'm
there.
saying this because, don't tell them they're all here. Essentially, I'm a slave driver. I don't pay anybody, but they all work. But we call them volunteers.
No,
they are joyful slaves, that's the only…
Correct, but they
because I am a horrible slave myself.
in the service of the Adi Yogi or Shiva. But what I am asking you is, do you see this consciousness growing in society of wanting to understand what our cultural roots are and also becoming innately stronger? Because it has to stem from there. If we have to be stronger in our defenses, if we have to be strong as a nation in our…
What I say now will make me very unpopular among your viewers probably, but let me say it because most people will recognize things only after it is happening. Only when the time is past, only in post-mortem they realize this. So the important thing is this, for example, in United States, 28 to 29% of the people are saying no religion now. In UK, about 32% are saying no religion. In Western Europe, 43% is saying no religion. You mark my words today, because you are a young man, you will live, I may be gone. In 35 years, you will see over 70% of the world's population will say no religion. Because anything that is not logically correct will not sell in this world for the future generations of people unless you have a logically correct answer, something in some way, at least in subjective sciences, it's verifiable that it works. So most of the religions are run on the basis of sending you to either a pleasure resort called heaven or a horrible resort, I don't know if it's a resort, a horrible place called hell. These things will not sell. You ask the youth of the day, do you want to go to heaven? They'll ask, is there free Wi-Fi? They are not interested in whatever other advertisements you've done in the past, it doesn't sell with them. It doesn't sell with them. Does Amazon deliver there? These are the questions they will ask you, all right? So, once heaven collapses, along with that, all the inhabitants also collapse. So now you will see a significant movement towards alcohol and drugs, because once there is no heaven, once there is no other place to go and live well, now the only way is chemicals to make my experience fantastic here. So this is when consciousness becomes very important. This is when this culture becomes very important, because this is the only culture, this is the only civilization which has handled human well-being as a science. Not a philosophy, not faith, not belief, not from somewhere it will be managed for you. Your life is your karma. You are the most complex life on this planet. If you manage this well, you can make heaven out of it. If you don't manage it well, you can make hell out of it. Right now, mental illnesses are growing enormously in the world. To what extent means, recently the Surgeon General of United States, who happens to be of Indian origin, said 1 in 2 Americans are feeling lonely. 1 in 2. What's happening to the other guy? So loneliness is the first level of incubation to become depressed, to become mentally ill. So we have set the stage for large number of people to go there. Any number of medical professionals and scientists, well, WHO is saying there's going to be a mental health pandemic. In 15 years' time, you will be a lucky family if at least you don't have one person who is mentally ill. We are going there very rapidly. Urban societies will go first, then rural societies will join. There are many factors, because you're looking at the watch, I don't want to go into the science of it, but believe me, this is happening. So as a part of this, we are launching what is called as a conscious planet movement. This is to offer simple scientific methods where from within you can change your chemistry, because human experience has a chemical basis. What you call as peace, what you call as joy, what you call as ecstasy, agony, misery, tension, stress, all of them have different types of chemistry. Why are you creating wrong type of chemistry? Because you never took charge of this. This is the yogic sciences. What you see as Sanatan Dharma is a mass application of yogic sciences. Now, what Sanatan means is eternal. Dharma means a law, not religion as people are translating it now. Eternal law is there for life to happen. There are laws with which life has been created. We are always seeing how to be in tune with that. We are searching for the truth. How can I be in tune with that I can be here with least amount of aberration within myself? This is the effort. So even so-called divine entities come and give you teachings, we don't take them as commandments, we still seek. Though this is a land of seekers, the whole world will move this way if we present this right. In another 35 to 40 years' time, when over 70% of the population has no religion, either everybody will be a drug addict or an alcoholic, or they will be a meditator. It's our responsibility to see they turn inward, not get destroyed with chemicals.
Good evening, this is Rastak Zamzaka Jacob. There is huge speculation around the new 5-day session of Parliament that's been called by the Modi government. The opposition is saying that this is unconstitutional. What is the need for calling this special session? And this has been timed to the India Alliance meeting that is beginning in Mumbai. Between today and tomorrow, they're going to be convening the India Alliance meeting. So the opposition is saying that this is a convenient tactic to try and distract from that meeting. The government says this is an attempt to try and discuss or usher in Amrit Kal, something that has been a pet subject for the Prime Minister and for the rest of his government. But ultimately, there's a lot of speculation doing the rounds about what kind of bills can be introduced in this special session of Parliament. After all, special sessions have been called for very, very specific purposes. The last major one was the GST session of Parliament, in which a historic indirect tax legislation was passed. So what may be that one big game changer bill that could be introduced in this session? Could it be the One Nation, One Poll, as speculation is rife around that? Could it be the Women's Reservation Bill? Again, speculation is rife around that.